Hello and welcome. In this video, what we're going to try and accomplish is I just want to share a few tips and tricks that I have acquired over the last 7 years or so of working with Articulate Storyline regarding manipulating and just working with some shapes and some objects on the screen. What we're going to do is we're going to take this slide right here, which this is just a slide with an image that I found in the Articulate 360 library of stock images. Make it look like this one with these buttons over here. Looks pretty simple, and it is pretty simple, but I'm going to show you some tips and tricks to be much more efficient at it so that you can reproduce this over and over in a more efficient manner. First thing you'll notice, I have pulled this image in from the stock image library. I have resized it and cropped it. The first thing that you want to do with an image like this is come down here and make sure that it is locked. This is something I am notorious about forgetting to do myself. What this accomplishes is it allows you to click and drag and do all kinds of other operations with those shapes without grabbing this background image and dragging it all over. So I'm going to Ctrl+Z a couple times to undo that and make sure it's locked. Now, to get started on those shapes, I'm going to come up here. Normally, I'm a big fan of the rounded rectangle, but this has a much more industrial feel, so I'm going to go with this standard rectangle. I'm going to pull this over here, start drag it in. This is a standard shape, and it does have an outline. I personally am not a fan of outlines, so I'm going to remove that. Regarding the color, this is already a blue that I feel like it goes well with this image. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this color as it is. We're going to mock up creating those 3 buttons that we showed a second ago. So I'm going to say topic 1 and the text is far too small. So I'm going to come in here and increase that font size. Now I need to adjust the opacity of this button. And normally to do that, there's a couple different ways you can do. You can right click, you can come down here to format shape, you can do a couple other things. I'm a big fan of hotkeys or quick keys or whatever you want to call them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this shape, not the text, the shape. And on the keyboard, I'm going to select Ctrl+Enter. And that's just going to drop me right into the format shape workflow here. Come over here to the transparency slider and select 25 just because I happen to like that level of opacity and tell it close. To duplicate these shapes, I'll click the edge here to select the shape, not the text. Hold the Control key on the keyboard and it's going to change my mouse pointer icon. And I'm going to click and drag and release. And you can see it's just going to duplicate that shape for me. I'm going to click and drag and release and do the same thing another time. Now these are a little bit out of whack here, so I'm going to highlight everything and select it. And because if you remember, I locked that background image, I don't have to worry about accidentally selecting this background image. I'm going to come up here to the Arrange button, select a line, and I'll center things up. Same area, and I'm going to distribute vertically. And then from here, I want to make sure that these buttons are centered vertically on this screen, on this slide. So what I'm going to do to accomplish that is select these 3 shapes and on the keyboard, enter Ctrl+G to group them. And that's going to group them all in one thing as they were the same object. From here, I'm going to go back up to this Arrange button, Align, and Align Middle. And because that's the only thing I have aligned, because remember I have it selected as a group, it's going to center it to the very center of this image. From here I can hold Ctrl+Shift and press the letter G on my keyboard, and it's going to ungroup those shapes and leave them as 3 individual shapes to work with. From here I want to add one of those little visual touches that make it visually impacting e-learning versus just a training that I'm clicking through. So I'm going to select this first shape and move its entry point 1/4 second over and just repeat that down the row here. And I'm sure you can probably guess what's coming next. I'm going to select this, go into animations, fly in from the from the left, and then here, as a productivity tip, I can select this square, come up to the animation painter, double click on that, because remember, if you single click, it's going to go away after that first selection. Where I've double clicked, I can select here, then select just over here on the side on the pasteboard, and it'll cancel out that animation painter, and now everything is animated. I'm going to go ahead and update these items. So I have topic 1, 2, 3, and then when I preview the slide, we can see the final result. So those are just some tips and tricks that I have acquired over the last 7 years or so of working with Articulate Storyline and working with shapes within that product.